Hey everybody, this is White Wizzard story part 5. The part you've all been waiting for, all the fodder, all the, fucked up bullshit, right? Why it all went to hell. I know that's why you're all tuning in. You want to hear all the drama, right? The dog's gonna join me here. This is Pokey. He's pretty awesome and pretty cute, so, he'll be around. So let's get into it. So basically, Davey had completed the High Speed GTO video and it turned out incredible. I mean, everyone's seen it now and it's kind of legendary, but back then, he'd come and done this for us. He found us through the songs I posted on MySpace, and, one thing led to another, and he writes this great concept. He does it all for free. What an awesome thing he did. I think every single one of us owe a debt of gratitude to that guy for what he did. I honestly don't think any of us end up having the ride that we do with either of our bands if it wasn't for Davey Voorhees and what he did with the High Speed GTO video. I want to get that out of the way right away. A fantastic guy, and what he did was amazing. He had a great vision, and man, he entered it in the Action Film Festival. It won. I remember we all watched it together, and it was really exciting. And it was weird because we were, I don't think we realized what we had here. We had this incredible kind of lightning in a bottle thing. The timing was incredible. And, here we are with this amazing opportunity to just, break out and do something really special. And at the same time, we're having like this weird fucking, tension where, I'm writing separately. As I said at the end of the last part of the story, James Luna wanted to rewrite the song that I had written that ended up being Death Race. It was kind of something else at the time, and I was really resolute. And I remember LaRue got upset at me saying I shouldn't have done that. I should have let Luna have, rewrite stuff. And they were writing stuff separate from me. I wasn't really feeling what they were doing. I felt like it wasn't quite the right direction. And so it was all of a sudden coming to this weird impasse, which is bizarre. And then there was all the stuff that I mentioned before. The lack of investing from Luna, not much from Tyler. LaRue and I doing a lot of the stuff. The dog's getting me here, man. And then basically, the mixes situation where Tyler didn't want me to, he wanted to remix what Ralph Patlin had done, which is the mixes you've heard now. And I thought they were the right mixes, which they were. And he wanted to redo it. And we were, for some reason, him and Luna didn't like the mixes. They wanted let a guy rewrite some stuff, and I was really resolute. We were fighting over all this stupid stuff that led up to this point. And then we booked this like West Coast tour that wasn't really, I feel like, booked correctly, or, we all kind of dropped the ball on it. We just kind of did it, and we didn't do it with the right planning. And we were trying to work in Mike Clemente, the new guitar player. I'm gonna move the dog. He's just completely out of control. He's cute, but he's out of control. It's a crazy dog. Here, buddy, lay next to me. So basically, we're trying to work in this new guitarist, Mike Clemente, to decide if we really want to be a two guitar attack band. And so it's like, we do this tour and it doesn't go well. And we all had a part in why it didn't go well. I'm not going to get into details about it. It just didn't go very well. And, we came back from it. There was all this tension. We weren't communicating very well. I had to trademark the band name. No one threw in on that. LaRue and I were, I think, kind of having tension over stupid stuff. I don't even remember what it was. It was not really band related, but we just kind of discovered we're very different. LaRue is very introverted and I'm very extroverted. I don't have a filter a lot. I'll tell you what I'm thinking. That pisses a lot of people off. I don't really play the front game too much. I'm very much raw and, and LaRue, I think, LaRue had a hard time in general being on the road. That's why eventually I think he kind of just didn't do it anymore. He's not really good around people. I think he would admit that freely. He's kind of more just wants to be home with his cats kind of guy. You know, it's just not his deal to deal with people, the egos, the madness, the dirtiness of the road. It's just not for everybody. And I think LaRue kind of discovered on that run that it wasn't really for him. And I think I was a little bit hard on LaRue over that at the time. I think I was, you know, everybody should be gung-ho and want to go take over the world with this band, and everybody should have this kind of, fight to the death mentality where it's like, just ride or die. And I think that even Luna, to a point, I was emailing a lot and kind of getting frustrated with a lot of things, and I think Luna would say that he felt like I was too intense. I think, he operates on a different wavelength. My only mentality with a band is if you're not trying to make the biggest band in the world, you're wasting your fucking time. And I still think that way. I can't half-ass it, man. And I am intense. And I know that at the time, I think I'm more balanced now, but at the time, in their defense, I was definitely probably a bit too much for Luna, and especially at the time. So when we came off that tour, there was that too, and I felt like, Luna wasn't doing enough, and even Tyler to a point, but especially Luna. He hadn't really invested any money in anything. I remember specifically a time when Luna wasn't showing up for practices, and Tyler even kind of went off on Luna and said, do we have to find a new singer? It's funny how, these types of things play out over time. But back then, I remember, like, even Tyler was getting frustrated. And I remember a girlfriend coming to one of our last shows. I think I mentioned in the last story part that, he just didn't look into it. And he wasn't really doing a great job with the material live. I mean, if you go watch the Distillery footage that's on YouTube, it's not filmed very well, but you can hear, like, he needed to take it more seriously, I felt like, in the process of trying to become a professional singer. I remember Luna made the comment to me once in Jet Fuel. He said this to me. He said that, as long as you bring it on stage, you don't have to bring it as much as far as how correctly you sing and yada yada. And I remember with the White Wizzard material, I felt like he'd set a really high bar. And so I was kind of on him a bit to kind of step it up on that. And I don't, there was just stupid tension like that. But again, it's all stuff that a manager could have worked out. There was all these little things that just built up. And before I know it, we're not communicating, and we're, kind of in factions, and LaRue's kind of stuck in the middle. And LaRue didn't like dealing with that stuff. He, I think I used to get upset with LaRue a bit because he'd agree with me in person when we were by ourselves about things I felt were going on that, I didn't feel were cool or I felt needed to change with Tyler and Luna, but then he'd never back it up when we were together. It was one of those things because he didn't really want to get in any confrontations. And I'm sure he may have been the same way with them, with me too. I don't know. But the bottom line was I always kind of felt like he never took a position on anything and just would kind of, hide his head in the sand or just kind of arms up in the air. And so I felt kind of alone, I think, at that point in the band, a little bit. Like I was kind of becoming on an island. And I felt like I was right. And I do want to say that I think I was right about a lot, but sometimes being right and how you go about it, I want to say, in looking at my own mistakes, because I want to admit my own mistakes. I think it's important to in this, and not just say, oh, it was all so-and-so's fault. We all played a part in why this first lineup split up. And arguing over percentages of blame is just a battle of egos. I mean, it's not really relevant at this point, even if any of us think otherwise. But the bottom line is at the end of the day, I definitely, I think at the time, could have handled some stuff better and also conveyed myself better in trying to get to an end game. Sometimes being right doesn't mean, sometimes if you're preaching that you're right too much, it can have a negative effect. And you have to go about it in the right way. And I think that sometimes, even though I do still think I was right about a lot of stuff in the first lineup and what we should be doing, I could have gone about it a lot better. Or it's too bad there wasn't a manager there to maybe helped me see the big picture and everybody else, and vice versa. I mean, it goes both ways. Again, I think they could have handled things better too. It's all very even, in my opinion, as far as the blame game. I just think we all fucking screwed the pooch, man, at the end of the day. So we go on this tour. It wasn't booked really well. We all contributed to why it didn't go well. We came back with even kind of more tension. I wasn't really speaking much with Luna and Tyler. LaRue just took off to San Diego. I remember we did one last show in downtown LA and we hardly spoke afterwards. And, I was at the mindset that, well, we'll work it out, because the big picture is just too big. This band's too good. And so I kind of was willfully ignorant of what was going on, thinking that we would work it out. And little did I realize I was very wrong about that.